Hello, hello, and welcome all. Emily and I decided that we would get together and create a video as we're in our promotional time for the Motherline. And the reason we thought it'd be great to do a kind of like welcome and get to know you video is because Emily and I don't have a lot of overlap in our communities. And so we wanted to give Emily's community a chance to get to know me and me a chance to get to know Emily's community. And so I thought I'd start by just introducing myself. For anyone who doesn't know, my name is Damascena. I live on the shores of Lake Erie in the United States. I am a mother of four beautiful kids, and I am an astrologer who has lived the past uh, it's been almost 15 years now in devotion and studying the feminine. And I do a lot of really deep and beautiful work with Venus and women who are walking what I call the red path. Emily, do you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, sure. I love that. So good.
Thank you.
So for those that don't know me, I am Emily. I am a mother of three. I have been on a journey of self-development pretty much since I was a youngster. And I feel like my journey has been so organic and so intuitively led that every time I feel called to do something, I just follow that and end up in
Mhm.
some kind of incredible journey of self discovery. So, one of the most potent gifts that I've ever received is really my children and how much they've pushed my buttons, how much I have had to really embody my own sense of self through the way that my children have presented. And that led me to create my business, Intuitive Parents, Intuitive Kids. And now I get to work with some incredible women all over the world, really deepening into their own embodiment, like their own soul journey. And sometimes that involves their children, sometimes it's just for them, but it's really allowing me to support those women who are wanting to deepen into their own gnosis, their own inner world. So, one of the beautiful things that I'm always watching and seeing in the world is the patterns and the trends. And I have this ability, if you like, I don't know if it's a gift, but I'm always able to kind of piece together what's happening in the world on a much bigger perspective and then filtering that right down into the day-to-day grind of
Mm.
what women are going through. And so in the recent probably 2 or 3 years, one of the patterns that I've really noticed is women hitting this midlife point, and myself included, um, hitting this kind of area where things are beginning to change. And that's a physical change. Many of us are hitting that kind of perimenopausal stage in life. My children are getting older, they don't need me as much. I've really been able to identify where um my archetype of mother, like, and how I see myself, my identity has been really embedded in my children. And I've been a homeschooling mum for 7 years, so I am with my children every single day. And in the last
Yeah.
year, they have started school. And so it's been a huge shift for me. And when I'm working with clients and they're talking to me about some of the scaffolds, some of these really embedded patterns that are beginning to break down, it's incredibly hard sometimes to be human, to really
Yes.
hold this energy of collapse and surrender. And so, as I have been walking women through this journey and myself going through this journey of crumbling, collapse, leaning into surrender instead of resistance to that, it has completely revolutionized the way that I get to support women and the depth that we get to go to together as a sisterhood.
Mhm.
And so that's why I've really been drawn into the Venus work and the red thread and this beautiful path of I kind of see it as a spiral of self-discovery, like continually evolving to know ourselves. And that to me really is the
Mm,
mystery of who am I underneath all of these beliefs and scaffolds that society told me I should be and how I should show up. And the deeper I go with that, the more I feel like my essence comes through. And this is what these women are experiencing with this embodiment work of, oh God, I never knew this is who I am. Like I'm confident in who I am because I know myself. And that to me is just the most magical experience to be with women who are so incredibly inspired by themselves.
yeah.
Like what a gift.
Today I had a meeting with my yoga teacher training. She came to me for a session, and we were just talking about how necessary it is to be resourced in times like this, and how incredibly difficult that can be, to be resourced in times like this. And I think, that's what the Venus path has offered me. And I think it's what it offers all of us who begin to journey and to what I like to call sync with her. That I myself have, like, just at the back end of this last underworld world period, and I'll explain what that is in a second, have been feeling a personal underworld kind of coming up to drag me down by the heels, which is, sometimes how Venus works if you're not working willingly with her. And and I it was just the other day, Ash Wednesday. And I went to church on Ash Wednesday, and they did sort of the thing on the forehead. And what I was thinking about, the cross on the forehead, I don't know if you've ever seen that, but it's the initiation of Lent, right? And 40 days of kind of like giving something up. And because you were the one who reflected to me, oh, I think you might be having a little bit of an underworld experience. I decided, you know what? I think I'm going to give up worrying, like in a devotion to God, Goddess. Like I really think I need to lay this down, because I'm waking up every day with my arms flailing and my legs flailing to like catch the sides of life, so that I don't get brought down. And so now that I've mentioned the underworld and some of these other themes, what I'll quickly say, we have a longer video about the Venus cycle. And so that's available for everyone to watch. But I'll quickly talk about how Venus's cycle works. So Venus, her cycle, she begins very high in the sky, and she descends down through seven gates, just like the story of Inanna, who travels to the underworld through seven gates. And at each gate, she's asked to relinquish something. And then Venus, the planet in the sky, dips below the horizon, and we call this her underworld period. And then she rises again as an evening star low on the horizon. And then she ascends again through the seven gates. And so throughout an entire 18-month Venus cycle, we're being asked to descend through the gates and then ascend. And what we've done is we've mapped the chakras onto these gateways. And so when she begins as morning star, we descend from the crown to the root. And then we take our little underworld dip when Venus is below the horizon. And then when she rises as evening star low on the horizon, we ascend up through the chakra gate. So we go from the root to the crown. And so Venus right now is at the very tail end of her underworld period, just rising in the evening sky low on the horizon. And so if you can understand this sort of map of going down, hitting the underworld, and coming back up again, it creates this beautiful, what I like to call heroine's journey of relinquishing, what I call false vestments of power on the morning star side. And then on the evening star side, how we rise in our leadership and in our, ability to emerge from the underworld and not rising in our leadership as um, any type of performance, how we rise in our own self-leadership, how we resource ourselves, how we walk a path of self-gnosis. And so inside the Venus path, these are inquiries that we're working with, we're working with, what is our relationship to life, to all of life, and what is true for us. And we bring in fun tools like the astrology and the astrology chart. But one of the things that for me, having run this Venus path offering for a few years now, I've really, really wanted to do to make it more wholesome or fulsome, maybe is the best word to put it, is I wanted to bring in an embodiment piece because we had been working with the astrology and, of course, the archetypes and the psychology and, guardian goddesses, which if you're inside the container, you'll begin to understand what all of those tools mean. But I also wanted to make sure that participants weren't leaving without feeling the full embodiment of the cycle and the heroine's journey. So was there anything I said there that you thought might need to be clarified? I feel like I whipped through that. So I just,
I think what I would love to share is
yeah.
my embodied experience of what that is like so that people can put that into context of, well, okay, I get it. Like I can see the story. I can feel the myth of Inanna, like this Sumerian goddess who is choosing to go down into the underworld and to essentially surrender herself to death. And that doesn't
Mm,
mean physical death. It means death of a part, right? Death of something we no longer need. And then to re-emerge in a new energy. So what does that really look like? And I teach so much from my own experience because that's true for me. And I
mm,
feel like when I get to express that, it really inspires and gives permission for others to be like, oh, wow, that happened to me too. Like that really resonates with me because that's my life. So when you step into a path like this and I was going to say choose the Venus path. I don't feel like you do. I feel like the Venus path chooses you. I feel like
100%.
it's such a
Yeah.
calling in the heart, right? To just, oh, everything about this feels alive in me.
Hmm.
And that's how it was for me. I didn't even really know what I was getting into. I just was like, this is calling me, and it's a yes in my body. And then the more I dived into every single facet of the journey, it allowed me to begin to see what it looks like to be living my life in particular scaffolds. So, as you move through each chakra, different pieces of your identity get a little torch shined on them.
Yes.
So, as an example, in the root chakra, we're really looking at safety. We're looking at how you feel safe in the world, how you transact in the world. What do you offer to gain love in return? What are you sacrificing? And as a mother myself, I know what that's like, right? I've got three children. I am giving, 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 giving. Even if you're not a mum, just as a woman in the world, we are nurturers. We want to rescue, we want to help people. And there's a positive and a shadow, right, to every single one of these gates. And so we're not looking to ever make anything wrong, but we're looking to deepen into ourselves and allow that sense of safety to be a deep topic of discussion, of embodiment. Like, how does this show up for me? And so I had to start really questioning some of the pieces of myself that were really embedded in control.
Mm.
Like, hands up.
Hmm.
How many control scaffolds do we have? So many. And it's
Hmm.
okay, right? We're not judging. But in beginning to deepen, to recognize and spend a whole month of a journey spiraling into this energy of safety and what that really means, and what is safety from a place of sovereignty
Mhm.
versus the matrix, right? When
Right.
we embed into that, that's just 1 month. And holy moly, does that open up this new frequency within us to
Hmm.
start walking a path where there's so much more awareness, there's so much more self love, there's so much more capacity to hold life from a place of abundance rather than overwhelm. And it doesn't mean we don't do the work. It doesn't mean that there aren't moments where we're crumbling and everything feels like it's falling apart. That's the human journey.
Hmm.
But every single gate we walk through is an embodied experience of a different flavor. And that's really for me what the path is about, is bringing it into real life. Women show up and say, oh my God, my relationship with my husband is just an absolute like show. I don't even know what to say. I don't even know what to do. Or they're struggling with their job, or they're struggling with their kids. And I'm like, amazing. Yes, bring it. Like, I welcome that because that's real life. That's embodiment. We're not here to spiritually bypass and go, oh, it's fine. That's just what's meant to happen for you. That's your journey. I'm like, no, let's lean into that. Let's welcome all of these difficulties or perceived struggles and actually make it gold. This is about alchemy and transformation and allowing you to actually go there, to feel safe enough and held and loved in a container where you're completely available to open and expand and bring everything to the group, the surface, the space,
Hmm.
so that it can be, yeah, just completely alchemized and transformed. Um, and for me, that's the Venus path. The path is the structure, but the depth of it is within my body.
Yeah. Yeah. Beautifully said. Beautifully said. It for me, it's like an onion or peeling back layers because it never ends. The Venus keeps on cycling and moving, and as we learn to sync with her, we learn to do this path again and again and again. We end at the root, we start at the root. So and then we end at the crown. On the opposite side of the cycle, we start at the crown. And so it's like shining a light, and we have one fractal of what we might work on. There's no way, given the amount of content that we are in contact with as living human beings on the planet right now, that we could clean out in 1 month, or work with in 1 month all of the things that are associated, especially with the root. We need to keep coming back, and we work on a piece of it, and then we bring that with us throughout the cycle, right? Like once we've worked with it, we bring it with us into the sacral chakra, and we keep spiraling like this. And I don't know a better path of evolution. Like this is an evolutionary path, right? Because we're evolving as people as we are spiraling. And I think, to go back to sort of what I said before about that, when you had nudged me towards this idea that I might be in a personal underworld, like I didn't freak out or get scared about that. I recognized that, like, you know what? Actually, this is true. It's one of the wonderful things about having a facilitator as a friend, to have someone have their sight on you and be able to see things for you that you couldn't see yourself. And instead of being scared, because this map now lives within me, it's a living rhythm within me, I know exactly what to do. I need to pull my arms and my legs in and submerge myself in the waters and fully surrender to Erishkigal, Anana's sister, and say, your will be done here. It's out of my control. And that can be so hard. And it's one of the beautiful paradoxes of the root chakra itself, is that like having no control is the best control. sometimes, right? So yeah, I love everything you shared. So the Venus path